Welcome back, you beautiful people, to the Real Collective Podcast. We are back at it like a crack addict. It is getting into fall. Summer is over. Time to get to work. Some rates are going to drop. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to be successful, whether you're buying or selling a property in the fall. So if you're thinking about moving and you want to get it done before Christmas time, this is the episode for you to watch. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who you think might be interested in what we're talking about today. You can also download us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Watch us here on YouTube. I didn't even introduce you, Kyle Miller, my main man with the
What's
plan.
happening?
How you feeling? How you feeling at the end of summer? Back to school.
Well, my daughter's French Catholic, so she's been back for a week already, so we're into the groove.
And how
It
you feeling? You feeling
was
like
good. She was stoked. We were a little worried because it's her last, like she's in the sixth grade, so it's kind of like her last year. But she was super excited. She's excited to be at the top of the food chain at school
yeah?
and enjoying the last year. So rock and roll. Here we go.
Is she a busser?
No, we're in a weird spot. We're in a weird spot where we can't we're in between where we can bus from, and we're have her in a school where she went to that school because of the daycare she used to be at.
Yeah.
So and we never changed. Like she could walk to the school that's literally like you can hear the bell from our backyard,
Oh,
but
wow.
we don't send her there. We send her to one like 4 clicks or 5 clicks away. So we're in the drop off drive and drop off parents
Got it. Yeah.
thing. Yeah, hate it.
Whatever. I mean, I don't know about you. It gets me up and going to work in the morning.
100%. There's no sleeping in because we got to go.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about some interesting stuff just to finish up the rest of the housekeeping. Of course, you can download the buyer or seller guides below or schedule an appointment with Kyle or I in the Calendly links below. Kyle, the rates are about to drop. There are about, a rate announcement is coming.
There you go.
What do you think will happen? And by the time
There you go.
this episode comes out, yeah, it'll probably already have happened. So
Yeah.
El Predicto, prediction time.
Here we go.
Get out
Here
your
we go.
magic wand. Get out your voodoo. What are you thinking?
I think they will. All the indicators are pointing to them dropping it. I don't think it's going to be steep. I think it'll be another standard 25 basis point drop in prime, and then that'll be that. Then all the realtors and all the mortgage brokers will start posting on Thursday afternoon that it's the best time to buy, and all the rates have dropped, which is wrong. But whatever, it gets the phone ringing. So if you buy into that, then listen to it. But if you don't, listen to us because it's a little bit more. I got a little bit more. I'm a little bit more. I don't even know what the word is about it, but just more transparent about how things go.
More nuanced, more level, more transparent. Transparent's always a good word.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we might be due for a half point. That's my hot take. Might happen. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think some of that other data came out the other day that said we're doing a little bit better than they had expected. Inflation has dropped more than they had expected, and or yeah, I think dropped a little bit more than they had expected. So that as much as it's good, they don't want to. If you cut too much, you're gonna just turn all that progress around.
Right.
So the slow and steady is what is pretty much should be their mandate, and that's why I expect it only to go 25. If it goes 50, rock and roll. But that's why I'm all expecting 25.
Yeah. I guess, hey, you know what? You're hedging your bets, right? So expect 25, and if you get 50, you're like, hey, this is good for me. And
under promise and over deliver.
That's it. That's it.
Thanks, Tiff.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? It's all good. I think what you're talking about is what they're targeting. An article you're reading right now is they're targeting. I was speaking to a friend of mine who works in the government. She's an economist, and she was talking about they're targeting. They're hoping to get down to 3.25, but you were reading something that says they're hoping to get down to 2.75.
Yeah, by 2026, and that's where people have to really wrap their heads around the number and the nuance and what's actually being said. So if the government brings the prime rate down to whatever, 3.25 or 2.75. So first of all, they're saying by 2026. That means you've got from January to December. It doesn't mean it's happening on January 1st.
Yeah.
And that's the Bank of Canada's prime rate. That's not the, call it just for simplicity, the retail prime rate.
Yeah.
So that means, so people get all fired up. They're like, oh, rates are going to be at 2.75. No, they will not be at 2.75. One rate will be at 2.75, which is the Bank of Canada's rate. And we're going to add 2% to that to be fair, because that's what they're going to sell that to us as consumers. And we're going to be on an adjustable rate if you're, I think, well, if you're me anyway, and then you're going to have your discount on top of that. So by 2026, my interest rate, like literally mine, could be at 3.75% if everything holds, if that whole system holds true. I'm on an adjustable, it's prime -1. I'm 1% below prime all the time. If it goes to what would be retail at 4.75, my interest rate will be 3.75%, which we haven't seen since, I don't know, 2017 or 2018.
Wow. And right in 2017, right in 2018 is when we started to feel a little bit of excitement about the market. We were getting bidding wars, we were getting multiple offers. Now, remember back, the average price of a house back then was like 350, right? So, bidding wars on an average.
That's crazy.
Right? Remember that? Remember like 20?
That's like 4 years ago.
Right, man. Well, it's not, because we're like,
Wow.
it's 2024. It's like 8 years ago, but even still.
Oh,
remember?
shit, sorry. Yeah.
But
That's math. Whoa.
listen, it's the COVID clock. Those last 4 or 5
Yeah.
it just hasn't
Yeah.
existed, right? Right? So, I mean, 2016, I remember like the average price of a house like 350. You could get a bungalow inside the city, like 1,100 square foot bungalow, with a 50 by 100 foot lot, or you could go and get yourself out in the suburbs a townhouse, like a run of the mill sort of whatever townhouse. 350. That was like the sweet spot, right? I remember that. And I remember we were getting, as 2016, 2017 started wearing on, we started getting bidding wars, and we were seeing like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people who are out there. The rates were coming down, the prices were affordable, and people were like, yeah, I'm getting into this. And it's been a roller coaster since then, to say the least. But even leading into pre-COVID, like 2018, 2019, we were seeing more and more bidding wars. We were seeing more and more people saying, hey, look, this money is affordable. The rents are high enough. The prices are affordable. I'm going to go and get into this. And you had a lot of sort of investors who were making a splash then. So it's, if they say stuff is cyclical, right? They say this whole market is cyclical, and you get 7-year cycles or whatever. By then, are we into a 7-year cycle minus the 3 years of COVID? Are we back to the same thing again, just with now new reset higher prices? I don't know. Be excited to see. The one thing that I want to be certain of, though, is that if you are buying a house and you need to buy a house or you need to sell a house, it doesn't matter. None of this matters, because all of this is just a backdrop for the world that you're going to be in, right? If you have to buy, you have to sell. You're in the market that you're in, predicting markets, figuring all this out. This is what we like doing, right? But if you got to buy or you got to sell, you got to do what you got to do. And that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about buying or selling this fall, 2024. Hey, you had a plan in 2024 to get yourself a house. Good, congratulations. That's awesome. You haven't done it yet. Well, you don't have much more time, because if you're buying, you got to buy now, right? And it is springtime. I'm looking at my piece of paper here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people who want to get their houses on the market this fall. And if you're selling, you got to be priced right. Otherwise, you sit. Right?
Well, that's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing so much, and even from the realtor side of things, and I'm from the outside looking in on that. That is all the talk, like all the talk of just all the good realtors, the right realtors, the ones who are willing to lose a listing because they're just like, I'm not putting my name on that house if you want that price, because you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Call me in 90 days when it doesn't sell, and I'll put it back up where it should have been the first case. Right. And that's all the realtors I talked to were saying the exact same thing. And it's true. You see that, like, you can plan on 30 to 45 days, but the right house sells at the right price time and time again.
But the problem is, you 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 want to try it out and test it out. No, maybe I can reach for this price and blah blah blah. Now you miss the mark. You miss the market, right? You want to do this now in the fall, and you want to sell your house and have it done before the year's over. You like and closed before the end of the year. You got to price it right, and you got to do it now, right? Houses are taking a month, 2 months, even if they are priced right to sell. And if they're not, they're going to sit. You're going to miss the fall market. The fall market's the second best market that we have in Ottawa. First is obviously spring, but the second is fall, right? Summer is sort of the second worst, and the worst is winter. So if you don't do it now in fall, you miss, and then you're stuck with winter, which means you got what, 3 months, 4 months before you hit the springtime, and you're actually back into a good enough market to sell in. So if you have to sell, price it right. Like I can't hit that hard enough home. And don't look at what the prices were in the springtime, because it doesn't matter. The prices in the fall, if you have the same house and you want to sell it in the spring and you want to sell it in the fall, you got to be 2-3% less. If it's the summer, it's like 5% less. And if it's the winter, it's like 7% less. So you'll have to take all that into account when you're selling, right? And there's the buyers that are out there, they're looking for a deal. Here's the thing, the buyers that are left, it's the buyers who lost out in the springtime, right? The reason they lost out? Because they didn't pay enough money to be able to get the house.
Yeah.
Right? Well, who's left? The people who aren't willing to pay enough money to get the house. So that's the buyer pool that's left, the people who missed out. Maybe they're new buyers, maybe they're showing up on the scene, whatever. But they're not going into bidding wars and driving your price up like in the springtime.
Well, and I've said it before too. It's so important. It's so important to do the math to know what your bottom line is. Like, everybody wants to win. They want a deal, and you want to sell for top dollar. Something is not going to happen. There's going to be some element of compromise or some element of somebody winning, right? But you have to understand what that number is, right? Like, and it still boggles my mind how people won't just do the simple exercise of, hey, my house is worth this. Like, I have a tiny little calculator I use for all my clients when they're selling, especially when they're going to buy. That's just like, right, here's what we think you're going to sell for. Here's all the costs that go with that, the payout on your mortgage, a rough estimate of a penalty, maybe, if we have to do that. And then here's your net proceeds.
Yeah.
And that's how it translates to your next buy. Right. Yeah. And if we change that top number by $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, right, this is how it affects you. Play with that and know, because you need to know how low you can go without being insulted, but just how low you can go or what you're willing to give up. And same on the other side. When I do budgets for my clients, I'm just like, hey, if you go buy this, here's what it looks like, right? But here's what $50,000 more looks like. It's X $100 a month, right? Like, you need to know, like, to lose a house over $5,000 drives me crazy. Like, it's $5,000 spread out over 25 or 30 years. Your coffee costs you more than that. So don't lose a house over $5,000.
We broke that down with a client last week, and they actually did buy the house, but they were stuck on this $5,000 number. And we broke it down. We said, okay, well, how much does this actually cost per year, per month, and then per day? You know how much it was a day?
What was the number?
Like $1. And then we broke it down to how much time do you spend in the house per day? Would you say on average? What, 4 hours? You're working 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. Let's just say worst case, 4 hours. You're talking about 25 cents per hour is the reason you're not buying this house. And when you get that, you break it down to that ridiculous number, it's like, right, okay, fine, yes, I'll go ahead. And it works. We worked at that with a client. We go like, no, 685 is all I'm gonna buy the house for. I'm not going more than 685. It's like, you can get it for 6.
Why?
Right.
Why? It's because it's a feeling.
Ego.
It's a feeling. It's a number on a page, and it's a feeling. Now it's math, and it works.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I was so stuck on it when I was buying my own house. They had an appraisal in their hand for $800,000, And I went, I'm like, you know what? I'm a good negotiator. Da 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 da. Your house isn't as good as you think it is. I'm gonna give you 750, and that's it, right? So I started like 725, worked my way up to 750, and they were like, no, we will do 770. That's it. I'm like, man, 770, that's it. And then finally, after like back and forth, it disappeared for 2 weeks, come back on the scene. Like, yeah, you know what? We'll do 760. We'll give it to you for 760. Here's your deal. And I'm like, no, I'm sticking with my 750. I've got the power, da 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 da, all this stuff. And then I talked to another realtor, and he's like, dude, you want the house? Just buy the house. 760 versus 750 is not going to matter. Not going to matter to you in the slightest. And it has not at all. Right. So it gets to a point where it's like, yeah, just if you want the house, just buy the house, right? So we'll talk a little bit in the second half about some stories, some other stories that we're seeing right now, as well as the perspective of a buyer when you're buying a house in the fall time. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who you think might like this conversation. We'll take a few seconds away here to hear some words from our sponsors, a really great marketing company, a new up and coming marketing company. They're phenomenal, and we'll catch you on the flip side. This episode of the Real Collective Podcast is brought to you by Real Collective Marketing, the marketing agency that specializes in the unique needs and budgets of small to medium-sized businesses. We provide turnkey marketing solutions that get results. We become an extension of your team and act as your virtual marketing department, designing and implementing cost-effective strategies that will help grow your business. You can find out more today at www.realcollectivemarketing.ca. Now, here's your hosts, Sean and Kyle. Welcome back to the second half of the Real Collective Podcast, where I am wearing a blue shirt and Kyle is wearing glasses. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this.
Still.
Yeah. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it?
Yeah, blue glasses. You can download the buyer guide or seller guide below. You can also book an appointment with Kyle or I directly in the calendar links below. We're going to talk about buying a house in the fall and why it's a good idea to buy in the fall as opposed to waiting until the winter. Because I just said a minute ago, the lowest average price of a house is in the winter. So why would you buy now if you can wait until then? The reason is because there's risks associated with buying in the wintertime. You don't always get a chance to see everything about the exterior of the home because it's covered in beautiful snow. Neige. Looks great. Looks beautiful and hides all of the problems. The backyard is full of dog poop and, just unkempt, and there's stuff all over the place. You won't see it because it looks like beautiful snow. If there's a crack in the foundation, you won't see it because it's covered in beautiful snow. If the roof shingles are old and curling up, you won't see it because, hit it, Kyle.
Covered in neige.
Neige. Beautiful time of year. Looks great, glistening, but risk associated with it, right?
And if the roof is clean, that's because it's a grow up. So just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on that.
total different kind of neige. If you good call. If you see spots on the roof where it's melting in one spot and it's not in the others, there's certainly something to pay attention to. Maybe a grow up, maybe a fan that's venting, like a bathroom fan that's venting directly up into the roof, but not actually going up and out, right? Or like right? There's different things to look at. So there are some things that you can see in the winter that you can't see in the summer, but that kind of stuff is pretty easily remedied as opposed to a crack in the foundation that you might not be able to see because they've got the basement finished and there's no water coming in because it's frozen. And the snow is piled up to the side of the house, so you don't see the crack on the outside. Big risk, and the inspection reports will say on it, cannot verify the exterior of the foundation because there's a foot of snow right up against the edge of the house. So yeah, for sure, there are risks with buying in the winter, which is why it's a great idea to buy in the fall. It is certainly the second best market to sell in. I would say it's great to buy in the summer if you can. You're going to see some new listings hit the market, and you're going to see people who didn't sell in the spring, didn't sell in the summer, start to get desperate because they've got this timeline that they want to hit before the end of the year. For whatever reason, everybody has this idea that, hey, if the year's over, this is like the end of something and it's the beginning of something new. So sometimes it'll be an estate that needs to, hey, you know what? We don't get the benefit of the vacant unit tax anymore because it's been over a year. So let's sell it before the year is over, or the tax implications of someone who has passed away. All of that factors in. So if there's an opportunity, it might be a great chance in the fall to get into something, buy yourself a house, move in before Christmas time. And I don't know about you, man, Christmas time always feels so homey. Like you want to nest in your house in Christmas. So if you buy, September, October, you could typically close November, December and get into your new house and really start off right with that first Christmas in your new home. Fire crackling. Man, that's a nice feeling.
Just Hallmark Christmas right there. Look at you. How to sell it? How to sell it in the Hallmark season?
Oh yeah, I mean, and you know what? I think people are sticking their head back up. I think a lot of buyers sort of put it on pause. We did an episode about how you buy a house and how to not buy a house when you're on vacation. I think a lot of people are on vacation mode over the summer. I think a lot of people are sticking their head back up and saying, "Okay, yeah, I'm ready to go now." So there's certainly going to be more to pick through, more to choose from, and I think there's going to be a little bit more competition now than in the summertime. If you missed your chance to buy one in the summer because you were away or the perfect house didn't show up, I think, yeah, two reasons: you're going to have more to look at, and it's going to be better potential opportunities for you.
I also did like I over the 14 years I've been doing this. I almost you might be able to relate to this with your old car sales experience, but I've always done at least, now I say that now, knock on wood, I've always done at least 1 to 2 purchases in December
Yeah,
all the time, right? But I mean, you can, unless it's somebody who's like, let's say military or government relocation or something like that, they aren't people with kids. They're always a younger couple, waited it out, got the last bit of money, scrounged it together, and it's like this big, like, guess what we did right before Christmas? Like it's this big, and I'm happy about that. I'm not putting that down. Just there's always those people, and it's because they don't have the commitment, they don't have the they don't have the lifestyle yet of being at home at Christmas,
yeah,
right? Like it's just, this is going to be their new thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they're buying at Christmas, and then they're going to close in February or March, and then away they go. But there's always going to be those people at Christmas, and they always get some type of a steal or a deal because of what has to happen for the people that had to hang on that long on the selling side.
Yeah.
But you can guarantee, like I said, unless it's government relocation or some extenuating circumstance, it's a young couple that's just like, whatever, I got to rent, and I'm looking right now, and it happens to work out, and rock and roll.
There's yeah, I moved a couple like right at the end of last year, and the same thing like right around Christmas, and I was like, okay, well, they bought a house, they found it was like end of November, it was starting to get a little cold, the leaves were down, and like, okay, well, we need to sell our house. I'm like, okay, well, you need to be really aggressive with your pricing. It was like beginning of December we put their house on the market, and within 2 weeks it was sold again because they were aggressive with their pricing. So all of that you have to take into consideration. And you know what, fall is long. Like it seems like there's a lot of time in fall, and it feels like, especially with how warm it's been, I wonder that it's going to continue to feel kind of like early September, late August. Like you get outside some days and it's warm, and it's like, yeah, this is still prime buying and selling time, right? Like up until probably mid-November, it's good, it's warm, it's manageable.